What up, doe? Welcome to Radicals for Good, a podcast about the quiet revolutions unfolding around us. I'm your host, Shayla, and we are at Moondog Cafe, sending them our deepest gratitude for letting us use their space today. Radicals for Good is hosted on Wawiyatanan, the lands of the Anishinaabe peoples, whose presence and resistance are flourishing today. Detroit is built on Black labor, Indigenous survival, and community love and protection. We honor those that made and make our city possible. In this episode of Radicals for Good, we're talking about being good neighbors, especially during times of crises like flooding, fires, food insecurity. I saw a post recently about how we are not doomed, we are not cooked, we are actually made for this moment, so check on your neighbors and pick up a brick. And that is exactly what this episode is about. I'm here with Lejuan Council. Lejuan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Lejuan is a neighbor, mother, and master problem solver. She was raised on the east side of Detroit and has spent much of her life building more resilient neighborhoods and helping residents stay in their legacy homes. She leads Feed Your Neighborhood Corp, a nonprofit that feeds over 3,000 community members a month, every month, and converts vacant homes into transitional housing. She's also running for Michigan State Senate District 3 in this upcoming election. Welcome, Lejuan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I've always looked up to you as a community organizer, and you know that. I've told you that.
I have.
And I want to know, how did you get started? How did you really come into community organizing in this work?
So I think that as an East Sider, community organizing is very natural. I grew up off Mack Avenue on Phillip, and my whole family lived on our block, and the next block, and the next block, which was very similar to many people who migrated here from the South. You keep your folks near. Mm-hmm. So organizing for us in community meant family. It was pretty natural to do. We grew up in the era where you borrowed a cup of sugar from your neighbor. You borrowed a stick of butter to make dinner, where you made your first hustle by going to the store for the folks across the street and buying a pack of cigarettes before they were illegal and keeping the change. So that was the culture that, we came up in. I eventually, during in 2008, I moved to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And I moved to Tennessee in particular as I was looking around trying to figure out where we should relocate during the recession. Tennessee got 3 awards for best place to live, work, and raise a family. Mm-hmm. And to me, that speaks community. Mm-hmm. So we moved there. We did lots of community work like we always do. And I came back home in 2012 when my dad had a stroke. And I intentionally wanted to be in community. Mm-hmm. So organizing at that point was a part of what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. I did not have any interest in doing any of the things that I had done before. Mm-hmm. I really missed my people. Yeah. My neighbors, my friends. Organizing and volunteering in Nashville was amicable. We kind of feel the need because I am a passionate person. I like doing public service. But when the people that you're serving don't represent your community, there's a disconnect. And so when I came home, I came straight back in, rolling up my sleeves, calling folks, hey, what can I do? How can I help doing what you're doing? Because I was gone for so long and I didn't want to move to the suburbs. I wanted to move right back to the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I did. Yep. So I currently live on Newport, and it is on the same street as my elementary school. Not in the same side streets, but yeah, it's on the same streets as my elementary school. And I live in my same zip code that I grew up in also.
Oh, that's incredible. Yep. It really is it's like you never left almost.
Yeah, but because when you return with the intention of being impactful, then it's almost like you never left. Yep.
I love that. And I know that you have a lot of projects going all the time, all at once, and they are all impactful. They're all incredible. How do you manage all of that?
I like to call myself the curator of culture and community. I think that collaboration is an art. It automatically creates that intersect that we always hear about. Mm-hmm. And when I first began organizing, I would always hear this siloed work. Living in the South, you know what a silo is. Mm-hmm. So you know exactly the purpose of it. And it is to store and feed. But there was just no interconnectivity between those silos. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, this conduit that would go from me to you. And I was very purposefully going to break those down. And how do you do that? You collaborate. If you make that community soup, I have this, you have that, you have the other, then we all have everything we need. It's that same thing you said in the beginning of the intro. We are just fine. Pick up a brick.
Yeah.
There are things to build.
Pick up a brick, throw a vegetable in the soup.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's like a play or a book or something where it's like everyone
you're
brings
able
a
to
vegetable.
do so much at one time. My heart's big. I'm a giving person.
Yeah.
And when you want to give everybody everything, and you'll deplete yourself. So how do you create that impact that you're looking at, that that's a need? You do that by collaborating. And so I don't have to worry about driving the truck if you got trucks. I can just make the connections to pick up the resource or whatever it is. And then, of course, the flood recovery, that's completely about collaborating. It is completely about community. There is no way to recover without community.
Right.
It is impossible.
Can you talk a little bit about the flooding that happened here in the city?
Sure. I moved back home December 2013. My dad had a stroke 2012 in December. And for 1 year, I traveled once a month. I come home and we had this prognosis he had a prognosis that if we were deliberate about his rehab, then he would recover. We didn't know anything about anything, and so we went to therapy, and we were by his side. And after a year, and we weren't getting any further, I thought, I got to move back home. So I did, and I moved back home, and because I was gone for so long, it was weird. Everything looked different. The whole city was different, and I was gone through most of the. It was maybe at that time going through deconstruction, because I came home during the Reconstruction. So when I came home to the flat line. Oh yeah, saying. It was just everything was. It was
a very different city.
Very different city than the one that I left.
Yeah, and I was just telling my friends that I lived in Midtown during 2013, back when it was Cass Corridor.
The real Cass Corridor.
Yeah. And it was hard to find places to eat and restaurants and stuff. And so now going to Midtown is just very disillusioned.
It is. During the year in 2013, I traveled once a month, and I would have a hotel stay for 5 to 7 days because we didn't have a family home. My dad had a house, but it was a very much so bachelor pad. There was no way that I was going to be able to house myself there for that time.
Right.
So I really got a good experience living in hotels, living in Airbnbs, because that wasn't even a thing at the time. It was vacation rental by owner. I'm a VRBO person. So I would rent places to stay, and being at home homeless was very awkward. Very awkward. I was homeless at home. Yeah. So I was in hotels, ordering food, but it was, I would visit friends, and everybody had left also. Everybody in my generation, we left the city. We got our education, we went places, we went 20-something mile road, and we never came back. So I didn't have anybody to visit either. Very strange. In any event, when I moved back home in 2013, I moved to the West Side. I moved to Fairfield, on the corner of Fairfield and Margarita. And I sent my kids to DPS schools. There was a school right behind our house. It was very difficult to place them in school. My young adults now, they were 10 and 12. Very, very overstimulated. Detroit was doing a whole lot at the time. And they had been in schools that were very low vibrational.
Okay.
And meaning that noise levels were at a 3 at maximum.
I see.
Yeah, it took them
sound level.
Very long. Yeah, that when now we call it your central nervous system needs to get reset.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but that's exactly what was happening. They were in shock every day. It was very difficult to sell them on why we were here.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, it was a balancing act. Mom, we figure it out.
Yeah, I never thought about the sound levels of school.
Oh yeah, my goodness, yeah. Oh yeah, it was. We would now. There's this narrative that we're not being tough enough on the kids because we don't. We let them take mental health days. But I've always done that with my kids. I would tell them they're sick of your shit. They're not sick physically, but they're sick of this.
Yeah,
they're not coming in. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna just go veg out, and we're gonna take off these uniforms, which felt more like conflict in prison than anything. So there's no self-expression. It was just a lot that they had to really endure. And I moved to the West Side initially because I figured, okay, I've been out of town for 7-8 years. I won't just thrust myself back into what I thought that I knew, because I did do some pilot trips. Mm-hmm. And I moved to the West Side. And in August 12th, 2014, we had, I was at a buddy of mine. She does this jazz on the grass. And I'm ready to hang out with my friends. And so I go to Jazz on the Grass, and we have a tornado, a thunderstorm that we thought was just going to be, it's raining. Mm-hmm. Baby, they blew over all the trees. I lived in the University District next to Palmer Woods, heavy on the woods. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All the trees fell. Mm. So when I was on the West Side, August 12th, 2014, we got our first FEMA disaster. I had not been home quite a year. My ceiling in my living room fell in. We were displaced immediately. We moved, lived in a hotel again for a month. Mm. And I happened to be managing a small portfolio of homes, and we had this one house that we couldn't get rented. Mm. And so I thought, okay, well, before I keep staying in this hotel, and then also my kids were going to school telling their teacher, we're living in a hotel. And I'm like, yeah, they're going to, you can't. Yeah. So at first it was like we're having fun. Then it just gets old. So I figured, okay,
it's hard
I'll rent this little house. Yeah, it is. It's and we had done it. Mm-hmm. So I can say that by that time I had lived in a hotel for a month each time, 3 different times in 14 months. Mm. From just coming in town, moving straight from Tennessee into a hotel for a month. And then the flooding happened. In 2014, I'm in a hotel for a month. The flooding happened. 2016, I'm in a hotel for a month. Mm.
I remember the flooding in 2014. Yep. I was actually in Uganda when it actually happened. And when I came back, my grandparents' house on the east side was, I came back and they were just like, it's completely flooded. Like everything was gone in the basement. They had to completely redo it. And luckily enough, we had the resources to fix up the basement. But a lot of families didn't or don't.
Early on in the 2014 time, that was a time where that was the first time.
Yeah.
By the third time, your insurance company's sick of you.
Yeah.
They're denying claims.
Right.
We're
now a flood zone.
We became in the repetitive flood around that time. But 2014 was our first FEMA flood that we had in this series of 4 FEMA declarations in 10 years. Mm. And it seemed as if, so I moved from the West Side to the East Side. This little house that was quiet, and I had never, although from the East Side, we typically don't cross Jefferson much. Mm-hmm. The East Detroit's very compartmentalized, and literally this is like 7 blocks from where I grew up. But I'm never over here, so I move across Jefferson. I'm in a 200 block. I can actually walk from my front door to the riverfront, 5 minutes. Awesome. I move over there October 2014. The flood was August. After that month hotel stay, I moved into this home. I'm figuring I'll just stay here until the spring, and I'll find something bigger. I had typically been in a pretty big house. This house was about 1,000 square feet. And even my oldest son, he says, Mom, what are you doing here? We had garages bigger than this house. I said, you live with your dad. We are exhausted from everything being oversized. It was like a little hug also. Very quaint, very cozy. Yeah. And I moved there in October 2014. April 2015, we got that snow melt. So this was also during the polar vortex. So climate was doing something that we really weren't aware of until now in retrospect. We are the polar vortex was the winter I came into.
Wow.
So I came here during Winter Storm Leon.
Coming from
Never
the
forget
south.
that name. Yeah, Winter Storm Leon 2000. So that's when we first heard polar vortex, and it was like crazy cold.
Yeah.
And then 8 months later, it's a tornado. And then the winter the snow melts in 2015. And we get about 6 inches in the basement of water, but it was clear water. It wasn't like sewer backup. It was just, kind of water overflow. And so then I realized, okay, well, this neighborhood's going to have some water management issues. And we put our stuff on pallets, and you put it on cinder blocks, and you try to figure you can manage it yourself because you watch the trend. And then 2016 came, and we had sewer backup. That situation was unique because it was very akin to the Southwest flooding that happened in February last year, where it was isolated. The only neighborhood that got sewer backup at that time was Jefferson Chalmers. And I noticed it, because now it's 2014, and then the water melts in 2015. And then July 8th, 2016, we get this sewer backup. Rainy, really, really rainy, but it's, heavy rain. I wake up about 2 a.m. and I thought, something's wrong. It just was so much rain. And my sister was in town. Her flight was leaving. That's how I remember the date, because her flight was leaving that day. It's also my first husband's birthday, July 8th, my best friend's birthday. Cool. I wake up 6 a.m, take her to the airport. I go in the basement because now I'm going to do some laundry because my company's leaving. And I just couldn't believe it.
Foot of water.
Yep. It was 3 feet of water.
3 feet of water.
It was black.
Wow.
All of the pallets that we had set our stuff on top of were covered in water. So even the mitigation that we tried to do, and I never have felt so defeated. I am not a person that even feels defeat. Even for me to say it, it's like, what are you saying? You're not. Oh, but I was. My daughter heard me crying on the steps. My sister, are you crying? I'm like, I just felt like somebody had gut punched me. Like we tried. And I take her to the airport, and we pray on the way to the airport.
Yeah.
And my mother calls, and she says, I want you to remember this scripture. And I don't remember the actual book it's in, but it says very specifically that the Lord will raise the standard when the flood comes in. And I thought, okay, I can eat that. I came home. We started cleaning up. I booked a hotel. I figured, it's stinky in here. It was extremely hot. It was in July. I go down to Greetown Casino. I get a hotel. I get up in the morning. I'm going to walk under the corner cut because I'm going to make this fun.
Yeah.
And walk under the corner cut.
The best really
and I'm like really
emotional situation.
Worshiping and praying, and I'm going to amp myself out of this funk. I get back to the car, and Shayla, they broke in my car. Childless.
No.
I said, okay, I got to go home.
Yeah.
They broke in my car. They stole my purse and my favorite New Balance that EJ bought me for my birthday. They were black and mint green. I'm a gym shoe person. I was just like, so I go back to the hotel to try to check out, and I don't have my key or my ID. A gentleman that I went to high school with was working valet. He was actually a supervisor. He says, I know her. They let me in the room to get my stuff.
Good.
And they said to check out because I couldn't prove who I was. But I can go home because I do have my car keys.
Yeah.
I go home. I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in this reality of this just happened and I have to really do something about it.
Yeah.
And we started the basement cleanup. I did at that time have a renter's insurance policy that covered marginally but somewhat, and I was grateful to have that. Yeah. The renter's insurance does not come with the support to do the clean out. So I had to use some of my policy money to pay for the clean out. It was like $5,000. A good big chunk of it was just for the clean out. And that was just for my contents. So now I'm really using my contents policy to do the clean out. The city never came. Nobody ever came. And that's when I said, this is it. I am going to find out what is happening. If it's happening to me and I am able-bodied, I am a contractor by trade. I have done this work before. Yeah. My neighbors are all seniors, which I always know because I always thank them for having a community that I can come back to. When we became adults, everybody in my generation, we get our education, we moved away. It was the seniors that stayed when there was no lights on. Through the whole Detroit bottoming out. Yeah. It was the seniors that held it down. So for me to come back home to my community that I grew up in, it was auntie and grandma knew that was on the porch waving. Like I remember when I was a kid. And I felt like I owed it to them to stand up.
Absolutely.
Yep. To be what even some of my peers, because of many, let's just say, if everybody in my peer group had parents and aunts and grandparents that were still rooted in community, they weren't around. They were all out of town, all over the country. But I was home. So I had to be their niece, their goddaughter, their whatever it was that was for this generation. What are we, the Xers? Us? I think I always get
Gen X.
the acronyms. I mean, all the alphabets mixed up. But if we're the Xers, then there was a void.
Yeah.
For Gen Xers, for the elders, and it was up to me to make that noise too.
Yeah.
To all of my friends, we suck. We messed this up. We left the table, and people, we're suffering, and it's been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about like a couple things come to mind. I think being a good neighbor is taking care of our elders and the children around us too.
Yep.
Like I think it's a twofold. We have to care for both of those community members, especially because they're incredibly vulnerable, right? But then also I'm thinking about how, and I'm sorry that you went through that.
Thank you.
I know that like subhanAllah, right? Like things happen for a reason.
For sure.
And now I'm sure looking back, you're like, this is the reason I was supposed to be doing this work. Yeah, you were supposed to be doing this work, right? But I think it's so frustrating to hear that, like, I've heard your story so many times that so many people have had their basements flooded and their belongings destroyed, and it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter how much they mitigate the problem. Yep. And I think for me, I think everyone is getting frustrated with climate change and the fact that our government's not doing anything about it. The people that have the resources to actually make change and curb climate change, we have the solutions. We have the technology. It's just not being implemented.
Right.
Frustrating.
Yeah, very.
So how do we, what are some ways that you would suggest we get there? How do we get there?
I think that outside of government, which is a body, right?
Yeah.
There is the body of community.
Yeah.
And that there are so many things that we can do that we are waiting for better leadership in government to implement. And I think that once we disconnect those two, that the responsibility and the not only the responsibility, but the action items that we can do, we don't do near enough.
Yeah, we don't.
Near enough. From conservation, just basic things. I've always been a recycler. I'm a cornball, so I raised my kids in a very cornball way. We recycle a cornball. We're just so corny. We were always the corny people, you know.
Like granola?
Like cornball. Like my kids were. We were cool. I thought we were cool, but whatever. Clearly, as it turns out, I don't
know what a cornball is.
Corny, you know. Like even hearing it from my kids' perspective, they're always like, "Yeah, my friends." The other day, my daughter says that her friends had never heard of loungewear. So I wouldn't my kids came home from school, it's like, loungewear, please. Don't talk to me in your day clothes. Don't come here, bombard me with questions.
Yeah.
In that prison uniform from school. Loungewear immediately. So my daughter just told me the other day, she's like, no, Ma, nobody ever heard of that. Like my friend told me, like it was your house. I came to your house and nobody understood, like you have to have on like lounge clothes. If you have a house coat, you also have an outside coat. I thought that inside your house you should have on house things. Yeah. Because it turns out all of the ways that I thought were cool, were progressive, were actually corny. So I've always raised my kids. We recycled since they were ever born. Before there was a recycle bin, before green living science was a thing, we've always recycled. There's always been a pathway for recycling. It's a little more cumbersome when there's no bin that they're bringing, but you can find a place where you can go recycle. That being said, we've always been very environmentally conscious. And so those are some of the things we can implement at the regular household level that we don't. Sorting garbage is a task. Separating your compost, separating your recycle and your actual raw garbage is a task. Yeah. But it's necessary. Yeah. And once you start and you become accustomed to it, it's very difficult to throw food scraps away in the plastic bag mixed with other plastic items and styrofoam and everything. And so just these small things we can implement that their work. And I think the work of it also causes the critical thinking. So why am I doing this? What am I doing with this after? Where does this go? You know, how does it get, like I had my kids do a paper a couple years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago now, on how long it takes glass to break down. It's like 1,000,000 years or something, some crazy number. And I'm like, this is what I'm saying. We have to recycle it. And so it's all these very practical solutions that we have that we don't implement enough.
On like the household.
Just regular every day. You know, like really regular every day. I can't tell you how many places I'm in that don't have a recycle bin. They don't have sorted trash at the door. Blue and black. And compost.
Yeah.
And you would teach people in all public spaces when they come to scrape their plate, your scraps go here, your utensils go here, your styrofoam goes here. So I think that these are things that government doesn't have to, things don't have to be always regulated or laws created for us to actually respect the planet.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're not doing it right. We could do better.
We could do
And
better.
if we did better, in my opinion, enough, it would kind of shame government into creating legislation and creating pathways. We have to kind of cause that balance and make that right kind of noise, not just tearing shit up all the time. Really demanding. It was the those of us who've always recycled that demanded that our local government provide us a recycle bin and provide better ways to manage our landfill. But that came from community. So there's many things that we can do at our own level that will impact and cause that pressure to cause government to respond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really want to make this as like practical as possible for folks listening to this episode.
Okay.
Give me just, so I'm hearing recycle.
Yes.
Make sure you have a recycling bin, or like, so there's something that people can tangibly do.
Okay.
What are some other things, Lejuan?
Grow food.
Grow food. Yes.
So let's get into it. So I am a 4th generation farmer. My daughter's the 5th. We come from a long line of folks who can touch the soil. It was very, coming up, everybody in Detroit had a backyard garden.
Yeah.
Look over your fence and somebody's aunt had a row of cabbage.
Yeah.
A row of collard greens. It was always so mesmerizing for me to see.
We had tomatoes.
People grow food. We always had also pear trees and apple trees in our yard. That was a part of the initial agricultural landscape in Detroit. So growing up, and of course, everybody in Detroit came from the rural South. That came from the farming community. That came in Detroit to work in the manufacturing plant to make money. But they never gave that up. They couldn't. It's what felt normal. When I first moved back from Tennessee, I'll go to the Eastern Market every Saturday because I just really miss being in the country. Right. And where do I find that vibe? It's Eastern Market on Saturday. And I moved back in December. So I'm there with eating beignets from the beignet truck, sipping a cup of coffee. It's 10 degrees outside, and her and the polar vortex, winter storm Leon. But I'm at the Eastern Market.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait until the spring came. And I started gardening in Tennessee. I became a master gardener when I got here because our soil is so fertile. Our growing season's short, but our fertile soil. Our soil is so fertile. I grew probably 3 times as much volume as I did with the warmer climate in Tennessee.
Oh wow!
Because of our
soil.
It's in the soil. You know, it's not necessarily in the sun, it's in the soil. In fact, the sun was a culprit. It would just cook our stuff down. You can have your corn field gonna turn to popcorn. I came here and visited one summer. I was trying to get corn right. So corn has been my Achilles heel in growing. But I started growing in Tennessee. It's hot. And you have to water every single day. Corn takes a lot of water. And so I had my neighbor water my garden. I came back and all of my corn stalks were dead. I had such a good time in Detroit. And then my corn was dead. So when I got here, it's like, okay, it's not as hot. What are we doing? And I'm in Jefferson Chalmers, and you can actually smell
there's a lot of water.
The water in the soil.
Yeah.
You can dig and you can literally smell it. It smells like the Belle Isle Beach. It's really something else. So I got this little small driveway, and I'm growing, and I grew so much stuff in this little cinder block space, maybe twice the size of this table. That was in 2014 also.
Okay.
And I started teaching my neighbors how to grow stuff, the kids. I say my neighbors because all of my neighbors were kids because that's who I dealt with mostly. I'm raising my kids in this old school 1985 when the street lights come on, you come in the house fashion. They riding their bikes till the sun sets. They're coming in the house, taking a bath. They're cooked. I go in the backyard. I light me my little bonfire. I chill. We have all kinds of fireflies. Jefferson Chalmers is filled with nature and filled with this culture that's like the South mixed in the 90s, 80s East Side neighborhoods. It was perfection. Other than the flooding, it's absolutely been perfection. So growing food. So I have my neighbors' kids come down there every day. I tell my neighbors, hey, I'm an at-home mom. You have to go to work. You can go to work and your kids are safe here. I do not know you. It's okay. This is my phone number. I'm Heaven and Antoine's mom. I'm always home. I became the neighborhood community center every day. It's 10 or 15 kids at my house every day. They would even come over and say, Miss L, can you come outside? I'm like, I am an adult. The kids are with their dad. They're still like, can you come outside? I mean, I guess. So we started growing food. They were very, very excited by it. I will never forget one of my neighbor's kids, little Junior. He says, Miss L, I ain't never going to the grocery store again. I'm growing my own food forever. And I was just like, okay, then. They picked up what I put down. And we grew corn, zucchini, tomatoes, cucumbers, some basic things that grew to, it's been 12 years. There's about, this year we'll have 35 young Black farmers. And it does what it does. You hear me?
Yeah.
So yeah, grow food.
What's your garden's name? I can't remember.
My father's garden.
My father's garden.
My father's garden. Because my daddy always had that tomato plant, cucumber plant, rose garden. Yeah. He planted flowers mostly. We had that Better Homes and Gardens yard.
Okay.
The kind everybody comes from all around to see.
Right.
My mom was a super homemaker. So our house on the inside was like, I'm not going to call it Macy's, Hudson's beautiful. This is super old school. And our yard on the outside was pristine. My dad was, the farmer meets the home decorator.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And then they had me. And I'm a little hybrid mix of both. Or something, but yeah,
beautiful.
That's what it is. Grow food. It's called My Father's Garden because that's who taught me how to garden.
I think what I love too is we've worked on programs together where you've come to Feed Our Boys, and like I remember you always just being like, oh, we're gonna feed them real food, like actual food, not just pizza.
Yep. Absolutely. When we got that, so a buddy of mine I went to high school with was one of your peer counselors. And he says, yeah, we're at this program. And I said, what are you guys feeding them? He said, oh, pizza and chicken. I said, what's your budget? He said, those $150. I said, I'll feed them real food for that. I said, he says, small budget. It's okay. We'll figure it out. We're going to feed them real food. Yeah. And the program grew from 15 kids to 75. Yeah. Because they literally just came to eat.
They came for the food.
Yep.
Like, I mean, we like to think that, they got benefit from the programming, of course.
It's a bait and switch.
They did. But they
came for the food.
Showed up for the food.
Yeah, they came for the food. And it also really taught my kids about really what food sovereignty was. Can
you talk more about food sovereignty?
Sure.
Or like what it means for you and what it means for Detroit?
Sovereign is really to stand alone. It's really to be to produce something without connectivity to system. And food sovereignty is very simple because the Lord provides the earth and the rain and also the seed. The easiest way I describe this is looking at a corn cob, and that every single kernel of corn is a corn seed. That there are so many food items that are the seed, beans, and you think about pesky seeds like cantaloupe seeds. You open it up and it's 300 seeds, and you're scooping them out and you're putting them to the side because you want to get to this melon meat. But it is the seed that's in the center. Yeah. So the fact that there is no food insecurity, it's just a lie. Yeah. It's just a lie. And so that also goes with everything, even women, when you're born with 1 million seeds for the kids you'll never have. That the Lord provides so much abundance initially that the thought of food being a scarcity is insane. Yeah. And that is that part really blesses everything you do because you're able to see the reality in things. Yeah. You will not just be going down a rabbit hole with whatever. I'm always very, very calm with these subjects because look. Yeah. So the gas and the oil shortages and transit and tariffs and imports and exports, fun conversations. Get your ass outside and plant some stuff. Yes. Get off the TV, turn the TikTok off, go outside and plant some stuff. Yeah. Because then you realize you have something tangible you can do something about. And man, that makes you feel powerful. Yeah. I know. It really does. And also it tastes much better. Yeah. My goodness.
We're recording this like after a mass shooting in an Islamic center in California, and I woke up this morning feeling like very emotional, feeling very like defeated, like you were talking about in this episode. And I needed to take a walk around the neighborhood just to like be outside and just like be in community. And I think even just that. Walking around your neighborhood and just saying hi to your neighbors is something that I know for me like makes me feel connected.
When the basements flooded what it did was brought everybody outside.
Yeah.
No matter what. Mm-hmm. Because inside was musty. Mm-hmm. And the reality of what happened was inside. Mm-hmm. So I saw my neighbors just kind of on the porch, walking up and down the driveway. You know, of course, we're cleaning the basements out. And we started saying, do you need some gloves? Do you need some bags? There are folks I've never spoken to that now I talk to every day. And I say this and I mean it, that of all the things that I lost, I throw every single thing down those basement steps to get the neighbors that I got. Every time. Community, crack killed our community. Okay, I'm born and raised on the east side during the crack era. So we went from borrowing that cup of sugar to not opening your door for your neighbor because the brother may break in and steal your TV. To creating this distrust that we never had experienced before. It was that trust that kept Black folks resilient during the transatlantic slave trade, during the migration from the South, and then this epidemic of drugs drove a wedge. And what healed that gap was this flooding recovery. That we had to go and say, hey, what's happening? And even if we had to also make sure that, you know, because we had so many rules coming up. Don't tell anybody what's in your house. Don't let anybody see your TV.
Right.
We had all these things that we grew up with that as kids, we were traumatized from just having regular conversations. I get my school clothes on Friday. You couldn't tell anybody that. You couldn't tell anybody anything. Because every time you told somebody something, it made you vulnerable and it made you susceptible to somebody robbing you, breaking in your house. It just became awful.
A lot of like scarcity, like a very scarce mindset.
It was true.
Yeah.
You know, so we just had to keep making these adjustments as things happen. And every adjustment that we made created cultural barriers that now it's time for us to dismantle. Because I'm 51 and it's just not the issue anymore. Yep. And we can say it out loud. I can say that. It's my experience. I can tell my story. And if somebody can feel how they feel, that's fine. But it is my story. I lived in one house my whole life. I watched every single house on the block be demolished. I knew at the time that they weren't going to rebuild. That the house my friend lived in was gone. The schools I went to are gone. Every core memory I have as a kid, gone. That is a death of your childhood.
Yeah. And
so now we can deliberately recreate these memories and spaces. That's what we have. And then I said that to say that we are starving for a community.
Yeah.
We have something to go back to. We remember. If these are things that all of us, we connect to. You know, and so now we are looking for those connections to heal internally. It's something that that's what drove you to say, let me just walk around. Let me just see my neighborhood. Let me just see peopling, because that'll get you back on square. And yes, it is tragic. It does not necessarily change the fact of what you woke up to.
Right.
But what can you do here? You can connect. You can heal. You can start conversations about connections and healing. And I am a person that had become reclusive, although I'm a people person, and they had become a very safe space being away. I found a lot of yearning for people, even with me being reclusive. It became normal every day. I was like, what we doing? Going outside, playing with our friends. And we still do that. And so, again, we are so... all of us are starving for a community. This hate that this administration has peeled the layer off of, it's a layer of truth. But there's also some truth to love. There's also some truth to those of us who really don't want any parts of that. And even if we were neutral, we're going to defer to love. You know, even if you were in a place where say, you know, it doesn't really matter to me. Nobody wants to be in that energy. It's nasty. It's just really nasty.
Absolutely.
Yep. Even for folks who thought that they were about this life, this nasty energy life, it's becoming too heavy for them.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
It's going to keep getting heavy.
Yeah, it's too heavy for humans.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you think of like a liberated Justice Detroit, what comes to mind? Obviously, community.
Absolutely.
What else?
I think that there has to be. My community has come up with this slogan. And it is that we want to, we don't gentrification is a term. We want development without displacement. We do want to see development. We are exhausted from the blight. We are exhausted from feeling left out and behind. We are exhausted from a tale of two cities. This shit gets old. You know, we see it happen in every place. You know, it's like New York, California. You know, there's places that have great real estate, but didn't necessarily have the look and or feel for economic structure. And so we get that. There has to be a balance. Does it have to be with you kicking me out of my home?
Right.
Can I stay? Can I be around for the development? Can I get the good views? Can I hear the birds chirping? You know, can I see the kids playing outside? And so it's really that can we dismantle this notion that it has to be in a separated way, especially in a place that has if our population is 80% around about African American, what are we talking about? Like, seriously, just for numbers. I'm a numbers person. What are we talking about? How's that going to look? It's going to look like it looks now. Tale of two cities, where the top 20% has great places and the regular 80% does not.
Right.
And it's hard to explain that to somebody. It's hard to pitch that to somebody to say, we're coming back, but only 20% is coming back.
Right.
The other 80% is going to, you know. So, and also there's this thing that I have a very pet peeve about. It's the trash. It's the amount of trash that we just openly leave out and around, that we literally throw things out of the window. And
the lack of trash cans.
It's also the lack of trash cans.
Every neighborhood I'm in, I'm just like, where are the trash cans?
I think that, so when I first moved to Jefferson Chalmers, we made a call to the City of Detroit Parks and Recs, whomever it was at the time, because of course a lot of our infrastructure in the city has upticked since then, so there weren't as many departments. I called, said we want to adopt Lakewood Park. Oh, you can't adopt the park. Well, why? Because there's trash everywhere. We want to enjoy our park, and we're going to do the thing that we need to do to organize to adopt the park. Well, it wasn't adoptable. We still go and we pick up trash every day. And then one day I called and I said, why aren't there any trash cans out? Because we're picking up trash and we can't even put the trash in the can at the park. So we know that there is a systematic play to encourage us to throw things on the ground so that it can keep this narrative that this is Title I. They don't want us to clean up. They want it to look poor because they actually capitalize on the fact that it looks this way. You can't go somewhere and ask for money to say, hey, we need money because Detroit is so low class, if they actually do things internally to uptick the class. So there is a benefit that it looks this way. There is a benefit to the city's administration. When they go to get federal funding, everywhere is based off numbers and the disparity numbers. And so there is a benefit to keep things disparaging. And we have to fight against that by saying and demanding garbage cans. I'm going to run a cash trash campaign. Well, we should be incentivizing the residents to pick up the trash because there are some general services dollars that are not being spent picking trash up. Every city's budget has money for this stuff. Where are trash cans? Where are folks picking it up? Why are all of our alleyways? And I'm going to get this. It's going to be the last thing I say about this subject. How much trash is in the sewers that's called our basements to back up?
Bring us full circle.
How much trash?
Bring us full circle.
The Great Lakes Water Authority, how much money do they spend because they manage our sewage, just straining out freaking garbage?
Yep.
They just took that budget and incentivized the residents and paid them the same way the mayor did in New York. And when he had the historic result from the shoveling the snow. He paid them to shovel the snow. This was the only time in their history that they had all the walkways for handicap. And they didn't get the money for 4 months. But the fact that he charged them and having some buy-in and made them really feel like they were a part of something. Instead of just sitting around waiting for the government. We don't want to even push this narrative. So when you ask, what are things we can do? We can clean Detroit up. I made a statement on a Zoom call a couple years ago. And I said, we're always talking about the greening of Detroit. What about the cleaning of Detroit? Then we started our Clean Energy Workforce Coalition and just named the cleaning of Detroit because we had to somehow get that word out. And even when you think about environmental subjects for the clean energy, trash is the culprit. Clean this shit up. We would not feel so, we would feel valued.
Yeah.
The trauma that we see when we get off of the interstate, just to get off the freeway, and every single freeway. I'm talking about Department of Transportation property, which is why I said the freeway. This isn't residential property. This isn't the neighborhoods. This is actually federal property. That is disgusting. The way that they cleaned up during the draft,
Right.
deliberately.
Right.
The way that our organization had to alone do the outreach for flood recovery because we were competing with the draft. The city didn't offer us any support because all of their emergency management were spent on the draft detail. So we had to do all the canvassing, all of the outreach ourselves, which we had no problem doing because we're about community.
Right.
But we watched them clean up for the draft. And then as soon as the draft left, the trash is back.
Interesting.
Why can't we start an initiative that once it started, we see, well, this is working. This makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's keep this going.
For us.
For
our
not
neighbors.
for other people.
Yeah.
My mom always says if you have to clean up when company comes, your house is nasty. So we had to clean up because company was coming for the draft.
But we don't keep it clean.
But we
for
don't keep it
ourselves.
clean for ourselves.
Yeah.
That isn't even a part of the Black culture. We don't play that. We have rules to how we live and what we do. And because we were body slammed for being the dirty culture, that we had to have our house eat off the ground clean. We had to, that was a part of our class, how we classed ourselves up to clean up. And then we come out of our beautiful homes and we drive through our communities and there's trash everywhere. As if this is really how we live. They lying. So yeah, there's some things that I want to do, and I'm going to segue into my Michigan Senate race. And these are the things that prompted that. A lot of the things that I advocate for, a lot of the noise I'm making. It was time for resolutions to be written, legislation to be written, for laws to be changed.
Yeah.
It was getting bigger than noise making. It was time to start shaping things out from a perspective that would actually require people to do some of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
My neighbor said, what are you going to do when you're elected or something? I'm like, I'm not running for anything, so stop asking me that. And they were kind of poisoning me because they wanted to ask me very soon. They asked for city council. I declined. And then Stephanie Chang is our current senator. She's been very instrumental in our flood recovery in Jefferson Chalmers. In fact, it was her office that
for our city, too.
Her office contacted me and asked me to lead the flood recovery group. And so we figured, okay, we're going to lose Steph. We got to try to get somebody in there. And there wasn't anybody else that we saw that was going to replace her that we thought could fight. And myself included. So I say we, I am my neighbors. It is us. And so when they asked, I said, we'll figure it out. And we're getting there. But that is the reason. That's what I'm a grassroots advocate. I am not a politician. I never want to be a politician. But I am campaigning to be a lawmaker.
Yeah.
Yep. I do think it's time to create some changes.
And we do need people in government that are willing to say, I am my neighbors, and this is what my neighbors want me to fight for.
And know who their neighbors are, and know who we are.
Neighbors are.
And
literally
to have representation from the grassroots is a term, of course, and it's from the bottom.
Yeah.
It's where things are attached and connected and where they come from.
Yeah.
So because we do so much outreach and we're so community connected, it's not difficult for us to know what our community needs. We are our community.
Yeah.
Yep. And we need what they need.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you, Lejuan.
You're welcome.
I just had one more question about, we usually ask our listeners to take radical action, to step out of their comfort zone. So what are some items, just quickly, like that you would suggest? Okay,
I would suggest, again, when I say grow food, if you have any questions about how to do that, contact us. I'm going to give you my website, right? Is that we do this now?
We'll post it on the line, but online. But
very, very simple. It is www.lejuancouncil.com, LejuanCouncil.com. My name is Lejuan Council. I am not running for city council. It just happens to be my name. It's always the conversation when they see my name. They're like, so are you? I am not. That's your name? It is my name. So LejuanCouncil.com is my campaign website. Our two organizations have separate websites, www.feedyourneighborhood.org.
You can just say the name of the organization and we'll link them.
Feedyourneighborhood.org and the Detroit Area Disaster Recovery Group.org. And so those two places, you'll get resources, everything that is food security, everything that is housing stability, everything that's disaster recovery. That's what you'll find in those two places.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Thank you for making space with us today. Share this episode with someone in your community and talk about it. Content is only beneficial if you're actually having conversations with it. And remember, the revolution may not always be televised, but it's likely in your own backyard and even within yourself. I'd like to send my deepest gratitude to Lejuan, our guest today, Indy and Alex, our creative team, Daniel, our music producer, Blue Moon Radio, Moondog Cafe, and all my other collaborators. Peace and blessings.